All right, so today we're diving into something that I think affects pretty much all of us, and that is scams.
Yeah.
You might think that you're too smart to fall for a scam, but the truth is that these schemes, these tricks, they're getting more and more sophisticated.
Hmm.
And honestly, some of the examples that you sent over, I was kind of shocked. I'm a little embarrassed to say how many I almost fell for myself.
It's not about being gullible, right? Like it's about scammers being really good at what they do.
Yeah.
They've tapped into the psychology of how we operate, especially in this digital world where things move so fast.
So how do we stay ahead of the curve then?
Well, I think a big part of it is understanding their tactics, understanding the little subtle red flags
Yeah.
that come up that make you think twice.
Okay.
Once you know what to look for, it becomes a lot easier to protect yourself.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's get into it. So first up is phishing.
Okay?
You know those emails with deals that seem almost too good to be true? Like 90% off at, a major retailer or something.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what these phishing scams prey on.
Yeah.
It's our desire for a bargain.
Right.
They want to create this sense of urgency and excitement so that you'll click that link without thinking.
Right.
But of course, that link leads to a fake website designed to steal your information.
So it's not just about being cautious, but also understanding like how our own emotions play into this.
Totally. Awareness is key.
Okay, so let's shift gears to something that kind of tugs at the heartstrings a little bit more.
Okay.
And that's romance games.
Yeah.
We've all heard the classic, like, lonely traveler story. They're stranded, desperate, they need your help.
Right. And what's really fascinating here is how they're leveraging social media now.
Yeah.
They gather those little details from your profiles.
Yeah.
They make their stories incredibly convincing. They might even use information you've shared publicly
Right.
to really manipulate you.
Yeah.
It really makes you think twice about your online presence, doesn't it?
It really does give me chills. So it's not just about sending money, it's about the emotional vulnerability.
Exactly. They build that trust, and then they exploit your empathy and willingness to help someone you care about.
Okay, well, let's move on to something that I think can send shivers down your spine.
Okay.
And that is tech support scams.
Oh, yeah.
So you're browsing online, and suddenly this pop-up appears screaming that your computer is infected.
Right. Panic.
Instant panic. And these scams thrive on that fear.
Right.
They want you to think your computer's about to explode if you don't act immediately.
Yeah.
But that urgency is a manipulation tactic.
So how do we avoid falling for this?
Well, the first thing to remember is that legitimate tech support companies never contact you through pop-ups.
Okay.
Ever. If you see a pop-up, close it, run a scan with your antivirus software, and if you're still concerned, contact a trusted tech support provider directly,
Got it.
but through their official channels.
Okay, now let's talk about a scam that I think hits really close to home for a lot of people.
And that's the grandparent scam.
Yeah.
So imagine getting this frantic phone call from someone claiming to be your grandchild,
Right.
saying they're in trouble and need money wired immediately.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. It's scary.
And this is where the scammer's understanding of family dynamics comes into play.
Right.
They know that grandparents have these protective instincts,
Yeah.
and they use that urgency to get money before the victim has a chance to think clearly.
So what's the best defense here?
First, don't panic.
Okay.
Ask specific questions that only your real grandchild would know.
Okay.
Verify the story with other family members before you do anything. And remember, law enforcement officials never demand payment over the phone.
All right, let's move on to something that preys on our good intentions, and that's charity scams.
Mm.
We all want to help those in need,
Of course.
but unfortunately, scammers exploit that compassion.
They do. They set up these fake charities with names that sound very similar to legitimate organizations. They might even create these really heart-wrenching websites to encourage donations.
So it's all about appearing legitimate while they're actually siphoning off your money.
Exactly.
So how do we make sure that our donations are actually going to the right place?
Research is key.
Okay.
Check if the charity is registered with the appropriate authorities. Look for reviews from watchdog organizations and be wary of high-pressure tactics. Genuine charities won't guilt you into donating.
Okay, speaking of pressure tactics, let's discuss job scams.
Yeah.
The allure of working from home and, earning a significant income.
Right.
It can be really tempting.
Especially in today's job market.
Especially in today's job market. So, if a job description seems tailor-made to your skills and experience and promises unrealistic salaries, be cautious.
Yeah, those are big red flags.
Oh, yeah.
They often request upfront payments for training or equipment.
Right.
And then they disappear.
So how do we spot these fake offers?
Thoroughly research the company.
Okay.
Be wary of unsolicited job offers. And remember, legitimate employers never ask for money up front.
Right. They're paying you.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's dive into a scam that often targets people selling items online.
Yeah.
And that is the fake check scam.
Oh, yeah.
So you've listed something for sale. A buyer sends you a check for more than the asking price.
Right.
Claims it was a mistake, and then asks you to wire the overpayment back.
Classic.
Yeah, this is a classic example of scammers exploiting how long it takes for checks to clear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The check is fake, and by the time your bank realizes it, you've already wired your own money to the scammer.
So how do we avoid falling victim to this one?
Be wary of overpayments. If a buyer sends a check for more than agreed, contact your bank immediately.
Go.
Report the suspicious activity and never ever wire money to someone you don't know and trust.
All right, let's talk about something that plays on our desire for a windfall.
Okay.
Prize or sweepstakes scams.
Yeah. Ah, yes, those congratulations you've won messages.
Yes, exactly.
So tempting.
They are tempting. They might inform you about winning a lottery or a vacation.
Right.
But then to claim your winnings, they ask you to pay a fee, cover taxes, or provide personal information.
This is where the old saying comes in. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a free lunch, especially when it comes to winning big.
Exactly.
So what are some red flags to watch out for?
Legitimate sweepstakes and contests never ask you to pay to claim your prize.
Okay.
If you're unsure about the legitimacy of a contest, research it online or contact the organization directly.
Okay.
Don't let excitement cloud your judgment.
Okay, now let's talk about a scam that can be incredibly intimidating.
Right.
Imposter scams.
Uh-oh.
So you get a call from someone claiming to be from the IRS or another government agency demanding immediate payment for an alleged debt or threatening arrest.
Oh, these are scary. These scammers use very aggressive tactics.
Yes.
To scare you into complying. They might even spoof caller ID to make it look like the call is coming from a legitimate government agency.
Right.
But remember, government agencies never demand immediate payment over the phone or threaten arrest.
So what should you do if you get a call like that?
Hang up
Okay.
and contact the agency directly using their official contact information,
Okay.
which you can find on their website. Don't give in to those fear tactics.
All right, and for our final scam in this section, let's talk about something that seems harmless at first glance.
Okay.
The "Can you hear me?" scam.
Oh, yes.
You get a robocall and the voice asks, "Can you hear me?"
Right.
It seems innocent enough.
It does, but they're recording your response.
What?
And if you say yes, they can use that recording to authorize fraudulent charges on your phone bill or even access your financial accounts.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
It's a very sneaky way to get your consent without you realizing it.
So what's the best way to deal with these calls?
If you receive an unsolicited call from an unknown number, it's best not to answer. If you do answer and they ask, "Can you hear me?" Hang up immediately. Don't engage in conversation.
Wow. It's amazing how they can manipulate these seemingly innocuous situations.
It is.
We've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
We have. There's so much more to unpack.
Right, but the key takeaway is knowledge is our best defense.
Absolutely. The more we understand these tactics, the better equipped we are to protect ourselves.
Absolutely. So what are some of the most common emotional triggers
Okay.
that scammers use to manipulate their victims?
Well, creating a sense of urgency or scarcity is a big one.
Okay.
They might say things like, "This offer is only available for a limited time,"
Oh, yeah.
or "You need to act now before it's too late."
Right.
It taps into our fear of missing out.
The classic limited time offer tactic.
Exactly.
I'm very susceptible to that, even at legitimate stores.
We all are.
What else do they use?
They often appeal to our desire for authority or recognition. They might impersonate government officials, law enforcement officers, or even celebrities to gain our trust.
Like those fake celebrity endorsements you see online.
Exactly.
It's crazy how effective those can be.
They bank on the fact that we're more likely to believe someone we perceive as an authority figure.
Right. But I think it's important to remember that anyone can be a target.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter your age, your education, your income level.
Nope.
Scammers are looking for vulnerabilities, and we all have them.
We all do.
So it's easy to think, oh, that would never happen to me.
Right.
But the truth is, these scammers are getting really good at what they do.
They are incredibly sophisticated.
Speaking of which, how are they using technology to their advantage?
Well, phishing emails and websites are getting more and more sophisticated every day.
Yeah.
They look incredibly convincing, often using logos, branding, and language that mirrors the real thing.
So how can you even tell if an email or a website is legitimate?
One thing to look for is the sender's email address. If it's not from a recognizable domain, it's probably a scam.
Okay.
Also, pay attention to the URL of the website.
Right.
If it looks suspicious or doesn't match the official website of the company or organization, be careful.
Okay, what about links? I mean, I click on a lot of links throughout the day.
Before you click on any link, hover over it with your mouse. This will show you the actual URL. If it looks suspicious, don't click on it. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Okay, what about malware?
Malware.
How do they use that?
So malware is software designed to damage or disable your computer.
Okay.
They might trick you into downloading it through a link or an attachment. The best defense is a good antivirus program,
Okay.
kept updated and avoiding downloads from untrusted sources.
So it sounds like being mindful of our digital footprint is crucial.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Be careful about what information you share online. Scammers can use it to create these targeted phishing attacks or even to steal your identity.
It's like leaving your front door wide open.
Exactly.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad.
It's amazing how they combine these psychological tactics with the technology
Right.
to really exploit our vulnerabilities.
The constant game of cat and mouse.
It is a constant game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next section, are there any other security measures
Yeah.
that our listeners should keep in mind?
So think of it this way. You lock your doors and windows at home, right?
Right.
You wouldn't leave your valuables out in the open.
No.
Applying that same logic to your digital life is crucial. Strong passwords are your digital locks. Double checking before you click verifying information. These are your security cameras. And always trust your gut feeling.
Yeah.
If something feels off, it probably is.
That's fantastic advice. So
Right.
it's not about being paranoid, but about being informed and empowered. I feel much more equipped to navigate this digital landscape now.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more on scams and how to avoid them after this.
It's like building a mental security system, exactly.
Right.
And a robust system needs multiple layers.
Okay, I like where this is going. Let's talk layers.
So we've touched on passwords, but let's unpack two-factor authentication.
Okay.
It's not as complicated as it sounds. Imagine it as a second lock on your door.
Yeah, okay.
Even if someone steals your key, they can't get in without that extra code sent to your phone.
Ah, so it's like an added layer of protection, even if your password is compromised.
Exactly.
Makes sense. I know I've seen that option on a lot of my accounts, but never really understood it.
It's become increasingly vital, especially with the rise of data breaches. It's essentially telling those platforms, hey, it's really me trying to log in, not some scammer who got hold of my password.
So it's not just about being cautious, but also about utilizing the tools that are available to us
Right.
to enhance our security. What else can we do to stay ahead of these increasingly sophisticated scammers?
Well, knowledge is power.
Okay.
We need to stay informed about new scams that are emerging. Think of it as updating your antivirus software for your brain.
I love that analogy. So where do we go for these brain updates?
The Federal Trade Commission, the Better Business Bureau, and other consumer protection agencies are great resources.
Hmm?
They provide up-to-date information on the latest scams and fraud trends.
So it's about being proactive.
Hmm.
We can't just wait for scams to happen. We need to actively seek out information to protect ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
If something seems off, trust your gut instinct.
Yeah.
If you're unsure about a website and offer an email, ask a trusted friend, family member, or even your bank.
Right.
There's no shame in seeking a second opinion.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the moment, especially when we're excited about a potential deal or opportunity.
Absolutely.
Having someone else to kind of bounce things off of can be incredibly helpful.
For sure. And remember, anyone can be a target.
Right.
Scammers don't discriminate based on age, education, or income level.
Right.
They're looking for vulnerabilities, and we all have them.
That's a humbling thought. It's easy to assume we're too smart to fall for these tricks, but the truth is, anyone can become a victim.
It's not about being naive. It's about understanding that scammers are constantly evolving their tactics.
Right.
They're masters of manipulation, And they know how to exploit our human nature, our trust, our empathy, our
Yes.
desire for connection, and even our fear.
It's almost like they've done a deep dive into psychology,
Yeah.
figuring out exactly which buttons to push to get us to let our guard down. Speaking of psychology, we've touched on trust and empathy,
Mm-hmm.
but what are some other tactics that scammers employ to manipulate their victims?
Well, one common tactic is to create a sense of urgency or scarcity.
Cow.
They might say things like, this offer is only available for a limited time, or you need to act now before it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
It taps into our fear of missing out.
Ah, yes, the classic limited time offer tactic. I'm definitely guilty of falling for that, even at legitimate stores. It's like they know how to trigger our impulse buying instincts. What else do they use?
They often appeal to our desire for authority or recognition. They might impersonate government officials, law enforcement officers, or even celebrities to gain our trust. They are counting on the fact that we are more likely to believe someone we perceive as an authority figure.
Like those fake celebrity endorsements you see online?
Exactly.
It's crazy how effective those can be, even when we know deep down that it's probably too good to be true.
Right. And remember, it's not just about the emotional manipulation.
Okay,
Scammers are also incredibly savvy with technology.
right.
We've already discussed phishing emails and websites, but they also use malware, which is software designed to damage or disable your computer. They might trick you into downloading it through a link or an attachment.
So how do we protect ourselves from malware? It sounds pretty scary.
The best defense is a good antivirus program installed on your computer, kept updated. It's like having a security guard for your digital world. And just like you wouldn't let a stranger into your home, be wary of downloading software from untrusted sources.
So it's about being cautious and selective about what we allow into our digital lives.
Exactly.
Mm.
And just like you wouldn't leave your front door wide open, be mindful of what information you share online.
Right. It's all about being aware of our digital footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Scammers can use this information to create targeted attacks or even steal your identity.
It's like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs leading right to your most valuable assets.
So to protect ourselves, we need to be mindful of both our online and offline behavior.
Right.
We can't just focus on one or the other.
Exactly. Security is about being proactive and taking a holistic approach.
This has been incredibly insightful. It's amazing how scammers combine psychological tactics with technological savvy to exploit our vulnerabilities. Do you think scams are going to get even more sophisticated in the future?
I think it's safe to say that scammers are always going to be looking for new ways to exploit our vulnerabilities. As technology advances, they will find new ways to use it to their advantage. It's a constant arms race. We need to keep evolving our defenses to stay ahead of the curve.
It sounds like a never-ending battle. So what can we do to stay ahead in this arms race?
We need to continue educating ourselves and others about the latest scams and fraud trends. Knowledge is our best defense. And remember, if you do fall victim to a scam, don't be embarrassed to report it.
That's a really important point. Reporting scams not only helps law enforcement track down these criminals, but also helps raise awareness and educate others about the dangers.
It's about breaking the cycle of shame and silence that often surrounds these situations.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground today, from the psychology of scams to the technology they use, the emotional triggers they exploit, and the importance of staying informed and being proactive. What are some final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand about these scams, the better equipped we are to protect ourselves. Stay informed, be vigilant, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
That's such a simple yet powerful message. We need to be skeptical, but not cynical, cautious, but not fearful. We have the power to outsmart these scammers.
We do. We just need to use it.
This has been a fascinating and incredibly informative conversation. I feel much more confident and empowered to navigate this digital world now. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, stay tuned for part 3, where we'll delve even deeper into the world of scams. We'll explore the role of social media, discuss emerging trends, and share even more tips and strategies for staying safe in the digital age. Welcome back to our deep dive. You know, we've been unpacking these scams, these sneaky schemes that are designed to exploit our vulnerabilities. I mean, we've learned about phishing romance scams, those tech support tricks, so much more.
And really importantly, I think we've hit on the awareness, the knowledge, those digital security habits we should all be practicing.
Exactly. But before we wrap up this deep dive, there's one more area I want to touch on, and that is social media.
Ah, yes. Social media, a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It can be a great place for connection sharing, building communities, but it's also a goldmine for scammers.
Yeah, it's true. We share so much about ourselves online sometimes without even realizing it. Our likes, our dislikes, travel plans, our political views. It's all out there.
It is. And scammers know how to use that information to their advantage. They can
Mhm.
create these very targeted scams, which make them all the more convincing and unfortunately successful.
So it's not just about being careful about what we click on or who we talk to online, but also about what information we're sharing publicly.
Precisely. We need to be mindful of our digital footprint. Think of it as your online reputation, the image you're projecting to the world, including those with less than noble intentions.
So how do we protect ourselves? I mean, are we doomed to be hermits, never sharing anything online?
Not at all. It's about finding that balance. Start by reviewing your privacy settings on all your social media platforms.
Okay.
Limit what's visible to the public, especially those personal details like your address, phone number, birth date.
It's like locking your front door.
Exactly. You don't leave it wide open for anyone to walk in.
Yeah.
Also, be cautious about what you post. Think twice before sharing sensitive information. Do you really need to broadcast your upcoming vacation with specific dates? Maybe keep those details offline just for close friends and family.
Yeah, it is a tough balance though, because you want to share your life with friends and family, but you also want to protect yourself.
Absolutely. It's about making informed choices. And remember, it's okay to be selective about who you connect with online. You don't have to accept every friend request or follow every account that comes your way.
Right. It's like being selective about who you invite into your home.
Exactly. It's about being mindful and discerning. And remember, if something feels off, trust your instincts. If a message or a request seems suspicious, don't hesitate to block the sender or report it to the platform. You have the power to control your online experience.
This has been such an eye-opener.
I'm glad.
I feel like I've learned so much about protecting myself in this crazy digital world. Any final words of wisdom before we wrap up?
Remember, knowledge is power. Stay informed about scams. Be vigilant and don't be afraid to ask questions. We're all in this together. By sharing our knowledge and our experiences, we can help each other stay safe.
Well said. This deep dive has been a roller coaster of emotions,
It has.
from anger and disbelief to fear and even a bit of humor. But above all, I feel empowered.
Good.
It's not about living in fear, it's about being informed and taking control.
That's the perfect takeaway. We don't have to be victims. We have the tools and the knowledge to protect ourselves.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey of discovery, unpacking this complex world of scams. We've learned that they prey on our emotions, they exploit our vulnerabilities, and they leverage the very technology that we rely on every day. But remember, knowledge is our shield. Stay informed, be vigilant, and trust your instincts. You are your best advocate in this digital age.
And remember, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Until next time, stay safe, stay savvy, and keep diving deep.